Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Let's make it happen. Welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. I'm Scott.
I'm Steph.
And today we are joined by an amazing entrepreneur, Bryan Boan.
Yeah.
Nice to have you. Tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, and all the good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm Bryan. I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And so I own Rock Hill Coffee along with a few other things, but it's my baby to do. And started just before COVID, and here we are. It's been quite the journey of the adventure of a very small idea that sparked by a question and took the plunge.
So tell me about Rock Hill Coffee. Are you just a coffee shop, or how's it all work?
So we started in roasting. Originally, I started in roasting and tried to create like an online presence. That was in 2019, and it's just kind of been one thing after another, but have learned to quickly I want to be a one-stop shop for everybody, for any other shop. That's what we've learned. And I wanted to be able to control every aspect of the business as well. So from marketing to the product that we produce, from start to finish, to see it all the way through. So we are a wholesale roaster. We roast for our own shop. We produce our own syrups. Every detail of what we do, our marketing's in-house. Like it's who we are. It's our brand. It's our story, So
So let's talk about the marketing piece, because that's how you and I met.
Yeah,
we met at a gig that we were both. You were a full-time employee. I was a contractor. And what I always tell the story when we talk about the Rock Hill Coffee journey is that every time we would have a marketing meeting, because we shared an office, we would go offsite.
Yeah,
and we'd say, "Hey, let's go out for coffee." And you and your compatriot over there would always take us to like the most random coffee shops, even though there was a very popular coffee shop right next door.
absolutely. Yeah.
And when I asked you about it, you're like, "Yeah, no, that coffee's terrible. Let's get some good
Absolutely,
coffee."
yeah.
So talk a little bit about going from a full-time marketing gig at a nonprofit here in town to jumping off the ledge onto the entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was, I was actually on a marketing gig, if you would. And I was asked the question that I still hate to this day. And it's, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like, that's a stupid question. Like, don't ask anybody that ever. Cause it's like, no one knows. Like, if you know, then like,
especially now,
you should open up like a psychic place and start reading tarot cards. But I was asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the first response was, I want to own a coffee shop. And the guy just said, what are you doing today? And one thing you can do today. And I bought a URL, and I came back and had this idea and talked to Scott on one of his marketing meetings. And he's like, you can do it. And he's all this stress that hasn't developed in my life is thanks to Scott. So
that's what we do for our clients here at Silverback Ventures.
If you're living a stress-free life, meet Silverback Ventures.
Yes, we completely create stress no matter where we go.
And I've been in the coffee world,
right?
It's a dream. I've been in the coffee world and had friends in it, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I've always wanted to do it. And I was like, my town needs this. So I was like, where do I start? And thankfully, no one had the URL, Rock Hill Coffee. And started there. And it started as I was buying beans already roasted from a shop in Virginia. And then quickly realized that's not sustainable. Like, I'm making $2 a bag. Like, what's the point? Like, and then I got on Craigslist late one night in December, and because that's what one does when you can't sleep. And I found a coffee roaster for like $2,500. I worked at a nonprofit. I didn't have the $2,500 laying around. and was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I remember I asked my mom and dad, I said, hey, can you guys go to dinner with me? And hoping they would pay for dinner as well.
I was gonna
And
say,
I
can
love
you
it.
take me to dinner?
yeah,
so
can
I
you take me to
pay
dinner?
for dinner and then ask you for money?
I got this idea. I'm already using the shed in your backyard. My dad gave up his storage shed for me and moved all his stuff out. And I was like, I have this idea. And I told him all about it. And my dad was quiet and he just shook his head. My mom was sitting across from me. She's like, I see it in your eyes.
Mm,
And she wrote a check right there.
Wow.
And I was just like, yeah, emotional now thinking about it.
yeah.
Brian, I think it's so cool and I so appreciate your transparency.
Yeah,
But you didn't come into this with an entrepreneur background.
not a clue. Not a clue what to do. It was meeting with Scott, and I can't think of the name of the book.
Oh yeah, we did Vision Map.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Vision
I
Map by Joe
remember
Mount. Yeah.
I read that book, and I went out and bought a bunch of poster board, and just literally wrote, "Man, if I could do this, what would it look like?" I still have the poster board. So every time we do something big, like me and my staff get out a poster board and we write every single detail and then we check it off as we go just to build the product. And bought the roaster. I had never roasted in my life. I had seen one once and it was a little tiny guy and got on YouTube and just started watching
Wow.
and started roasting and
And you didn't burn the shed down.
didn't burn the shed down. Yeah, thankfully.
Your mom is still proud?
She's still proud. My dad got his shed back. And that was December 2019. And then I mean I would sell coffee here and there, nothing
Mhm.
special. But who knew? We didn't know what was coming.
Okay, but wait right there. How did you sell coffee?
Just online, word of mouth. I would get excited and but hey, I'm selling coffee, and people are like, oh, I want to buy it. I'm like,
Well, the cool thing is he's being modest. Is he's kind of a marketing genius. So, having that background
Yeah.
definitely helps
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs along the way. Understanding how to tell the story about your product, game changer.
yeah,
And not every business can do that.
right,
But you have a unique ability to see not only what is, but the story of what could be.
yeah,
And I think that has helped you tremendously to go from, that first roaster in the shed to where you are now.
absolutely. And I think it comes back to what you said, transparency. Like I'm still transparent with my customers. Like they're in the shop and I'm like, man, somebody wants me to buy a forklift. I don't know if I should buy a forklift. And the guy just looks at me and is like, why not? Like, and my staff the other day looked at me. They were like, why did you do that? And I was like, because they're going to buy into the vision. Like when the day they
Mhm.
see the forklift on social media, they're going to be like, oh, like I was a part of this journey for them. And when I came up with the business, like the tagline, what's the tagline of a coffee shop? And it was coffee culture community. And that was from the very beginning. It's just like, I want to create a product that is there's excellence in the cup. Like everyone's going to trust what's in the cup. So then it's going to create a culture of excellence, because they know
Mhm.
it's good. So then it doesn't matter what day that they have or the night before that they have, whatever morning they're having, they're going to expect something great. And it's going to create, it's going to have a community effect. Is like, because at the end of the day, I want these people to be the best at their job that they can be if they're drinking. Like if they don't just need a caffeine fix, they need something more. Like I want it to be the best parent if they a sleepless night with their kids and like they need like these things. So it's like it creates a community wide impact based upon what's in the cup. Yeah.
I love that you said
Mm.
that because I've been in your coffee
Mm.
shop. Clearly, I've had meetings in your coffee
Yeah.
shop. But man, it's just cozy.
Yeah.
Like it's good vibe, good coffee,
Yeah.
good experience across the board. But that's a long way from, hey, I'm going to sell it online. And then there was
Yeah, they
the
talk about the
Camper.
in between.
Yeah.
The in between is so, but because I think the community thing,
you can feel it.
you can feel it, but you could feel it even when you didn't have the shop.
Yeah.
You could tell from the get go that was something that you felt strongly about. Living in the Rock Hill area, you always, from the moment we started talking about it, always wanted it to be a community hub for
Yeah.
good vibes, for lack
Absolutely.
of a better term.
And that's one of the ones like learning that like I'm going to control the environment. Like
Mhm.
I'm going to set the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you feel when you come in the shop. Like we don't care who you are. Like you can leave your drink at the door. Like you're coming to have coffee, like in a good time. Like that's what we care about. Like I don't anything else. But yeah, so 2020, it was leading up with sales stuff here and there. It was still working full time. Like everything was focused on work at the time. I had a dream job, like getting to travel the world and like photos and like meeting businesses and brands and seeing you just never knew who you're going to meet. And then the world shut down. And I was blessed in my role to never be cut, from like I was full-time the entire time during COVID and got to work from home, and that led to more time to like focus on what am I going to do. And then the government checks started coming in. And I was like, hey, I got some extra cash. On top of this, I want to put it to good use. My same coworker was like, hey, crazy thing, a horse trailer just came to my neighborhood and sold us coffee. I was like, a horse trailer? And she's like, have you ever thought about buying a horse trailer? I was like, well, no. Like, I don't want a horse trailer. Yeah. And I started looking at them and I'm like, man, anything in my budget was, 30 or 40 years old, rusted out. Like they're heavy. Like I was like, I don't want to do this. And then coffee camper came up and I saw like, man, there was one on eBay for $40,000 in California. I was like, oh my gosh, like who would pay that for that? Like, why? And then kept on Craigslist, just kept looking. And once again, late night on Craigslist. I found one in Lynchburg, Virginia. It was in May. So I was going to keep it's Memorial Day in May, right? Yeah. So it was Memorial Day weekend in May. I found it and I just started sending the guy messages like, bam, I want, when can I come? And he's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. And then I get there in Lynchburg, Virginia, a couple hours away, had an air compressor in the back of my truck. And he's like, yeah, my brother died. And like, he drank beer and listened to the news in the backyard. Like that's all he did in it. And he's like, I just want to tell you, he's like, I had like a lot more offers for a lot higher. He's like, but you wouldn't leave me alone. He's like, clearly I knew you wanted it.
Right.
And he's like, I wanted to go somewhere good. And I remember jacking it up right there. Who knows when the last time I was on the road? I don't know how I got it home. I
don't know how you got it home either. Because I know when I rolled up to your place and looked at it, I was just like, oh no. Oh, this was not a good purchase.
It's wild. And I mean, I remember cleaning out taking the toilet out and there's a big black snake and a rat that came out of it. Wow. We were going down 85. I say we, I always reference we. I was going down 85 right by Concord Mills, and there's a dip in the road, and I hit it, and sparks shot out everywhere, where it bottomed out on the road.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And it was one of those, and I got it home, and my dad was just like, son, what are you doing? And I was like, trust me. And then that's the fun part of during COVID is like me and him got to rebuild the whole thing. Like it's a project with my dad,
that was a fun journey from an outsider's perspective looking in. Because you and I met when you first got it there.
Yeah.
And we were looking at it and I was just like, I'll be honest. I was like, oh,
yeah,
this was not a good investment. There's no chance. Brian, there's no chance this will ever get out of this yard.
This is one of those times where everybody around you, although you had a plan, you had a vision, everybody was saying, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you were believing in your plan and trudging forward. So
absolutely.
That's super cool.
No, and that's a good point. I mean, for all the rest of the folks out there that have an idea, yes, you have to have good counsel around you that kind of helps you vet it out. But if that's something that you feel God's put on your heart to just kind of get after it,
absolutely,
you've got to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to create a shared vision so people can come around and provide the support. Because you've done a ridiculous amount of work on your own, but you've always had people that said, yeah, okay. Like Tim, like I catch the vision.
Yeah.
I can see where we're going to go. And, you and your dad turned this roached out rat and snake infested camper into an amazing mobile coffee unit.
Yeah. And it's
at the same time you were selling still online?
Still like maybe doing
and still working full time.
Like maybe $100 a month online.
Wow.
Maybe. Like,
did you get micro investments?
No.
Okay.
It was all my paychecks going right into it.
Okay.
The camper was the first time I ever got any type of money investment. Right. And even like that amount was nerve-wracking. It was $7,000. Like I've learned to always, man, there's so much more equipment I would want, but it's like I can't get there yet.
Right.
So, but why am I going to let that stop me? So I bought like a home espresso machine. Like it wasn't even for a commercial unit, So we rebuilt the camper and it was prepared to launch. We launched October 17th of 2020 in an old parking lot. And I had a friend with me in the camper. like Instagram. I had an Instagram already. That was one of the first things I created, and would just like started building a following that way. And it had a couple hundred followers at that point, and quickly learned Instagram. That's even to this day, that's our number one means of communication. Like
Wow.
our following on Instagram, it's the insights are through the roof. It's like, because we treat it like community, we treat it like our shop as well.
Right.
It's like going to look and feel like our shop. So it's you're not going to be duped by coming in or seeing our product of like, oh, well, it looked this way and I showed up and it's this way. And it's like, no, it's going to look the same. But it started there. But I remember that day. I was, oh my God, I was nervous and leading up to it. And all these people that showed up, and I remember there's a line of like 30 people deep. I had never made a latte. Like I didn't have a coffee background. Like I'm trying to make foam, and I'm thinking about what people said. It was like, this is good. I was like, there's no way. Like there's no way. But like there wasn't one complaint that day. There wasn't anything. And I was just like, are people just nice? Like,
well, you know what? And I know, because I was there, how nervous you were.
Yeah.
But it didn't show at all.
Yeah.
Your outward appearance and your authenticity to your customers was like, look, this is new for everybody.
Yeah.
And it all centered around being a community. That's why you named it Rock Hill Coffee. We talked about that for a long time. Like, okay, what happens if you want to go into, I don't know, Fort Mill?
Yeah.
Or you want to go into Charlotte?
Yeah.
How does that scale? And you were like, no, this is who we are.
Yeah.
And this is why the logo is the way it is. And this is why we're going to be a pillar in this community and build partnerships within the community as well.
Absolutely. You know, and it's when we've gone through like a rebrand since then, because it's like I love my hometown. Like I love my state. Like whoever came up with like the state, like the marketing, South Carolina has great marketing, like just the state in general. So I was like, how can we capitalize on that? Because that's going to be our target demographic. You know, they have the state or the palmetto tree on their Yetis. They have all these things. So it's being aware of like, I would want something that they could use in their day-to-day life and not just like this funky coffee shop name or these weird design or anything like that. So we kept it simple, but then we went to a rebrand, and like today it's an Anvil, and it's like both sets of grandparents were in Rock Hill. Both grandfathers worked hard. Like Rock Hill was known for manufacturing and springs. One worked in a fabric mill. The other one was a mechanic. And as we began to talk, we met with a graphic designer in Washington State. We did go outside the area for that because we wanted an outsider's perspective on the vision we're casting. And he came back to me, like we went through one rendition, and I was like, this is it. And it was an anvil. He came up with an anvil, and it's the idea is like, it's hard work that happens on the anvil. So it's the like paying tribute to those that came before us and pave the way for the amazing place that we get to live, to put Rock Hill on the map and to do the work. And then like looking to the future of the hard work that it's going to take, we want our shop to be like the anvil where the ideas happen. Like,
are you in a historical building?
We're next door is a historical, but we ourselves are not. Yeah. The funny part about the building is in 2015, before all this happened, I was living in Florida at the time, and I had to fly home for a funeral. It was a tragic thing and had to fly quickly and all this. And I had just picked up a camera, and I went downtown Main Street, and like it was dead in Rock Hill. Like you didn't go downtown. Like you didn't like. And but I remember this geometric construction wall. It was like all these crazy triangles like painted all over the wall like a mural. And I was like, that's crazy. That's in Rock Hill. What? And I remember sitting down in front of it, and I took a photo of myself because that's what you do for Instagram. And I was wearing joggers in July, like sweatpants. I was like, what am I doing? With a pair of white Vans. And it was still on my Instagram. Like I took a picture of myself. My Vans were the only thing in focus. And I put a Dr. Seuss quote because I didn't know what I wanted to do in life yet. I knew something was needed to change, but it was, you have everything that you need. You have your heart in your chest, your brain, your head, your shoes on your feet. And little did I know I was sitting in front of my shop.
Wow.
Like, and I took the same exact photo when I got the keys to the lease.
It makes me want to cry.
Yeah. So it's one of those of like, it's an anomaly. I feel we are, not to brag about what we do, but it's like the more you just care and show up, like you care about your product, you care. It's not just a cool idea that you hope somebody buys. It's like filling a need and like figuring out how you can fill that need with your, like the dream and idea that you have. Like it goes so much further than just a cool product. Like,
Bryan, when I
come on, that's
you.
good though, right? I mean, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's so important because we talk a lot here about every business starts to solve a problem, to fill a need.
Yeah.
And the way you described it is not, hey, yeah, I love coffee and I wanted to know everything there was to know about coffee because I wanted to have a good cup of coffee.
Right.
But you quickly realized that this was a need within the community, not only from a good cup of coffee, but from how do we build a community around a locally owned business that wants to be impactful? So I just think that's awesome.
Okay, so when I came on the scene, when I met you, you were in the coffee truck and you showed up at an event and you were so cool about it. Like, okay, how many people you think are going to be there? I don't know.
Yeah.
How many days do you need me? I'm like, 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
To, hey, Steph, okay, I can't do this, but I know other people in the industry that can do this for you because now I'm doing the Frisbee golf tournament. Like it exponential growth.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
It's been wild. Like I don't 150% every year at least.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
If not more. And this year we're on track to do our biggest ever. We're almost to the 7-figure mark that we started in a coffee truck. I remember we're in talks of a contract or contracts that would be we'd do more in a month than we did an entire year, and it's just like this. I'm like, this is getting crazy.
So coffee truck on the road.
Yeah.
When?
October 17th, 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So now we are in the early stages of 2025.
Yeah.
And you've now got 2 of those vehicles, or one getting ready to get on the road.
Two are ready, a third being built, a brick and mortar, 35 wholesale clients. And as of today, another shop on the way with a third now about to happen.
When we first partnered on the camper, we were excited if we would do $800 in gross sales in a month.
Yeah.
Now, every time I talk to you, and what I love about you is no matter what is going on, every time the phone rings, Bryan says to me, well, I just had to give you some good news. And then for the next hour, he's telling me about these 25 different things that are going on. It's been a very crazy journey, not without its ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome over the last 4.5 years?
Learning how to run a business, being an entrepreneur, I had a business coach tell me once, he's like, so often we try to raise the ceiling and go to new levels. He's like, but no one brings the floor with them.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it's not about this. It's about staying even.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taken me a little while to understand. I feel like I understand, but it's like, what do you do when payroll is coming and you can't cover?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh boy, we got to figure it out. But it's like you have staff that are gracious enough, that are so bought in. There's like, okay, cool. It can be a day late. I don't care.
Right.
It can be, and it's things like that. So cash flow and understanding those things in the market that we're in, it's an ever learning project for me. And that's, I love making coffee. I didn't think I was gonna be doing taxes, things like that. But here we are. I'm learning how to do it. And then I love selling. I love those side of things. But to me, that would be the hardest of not taking it personal. We've never really run into anything. You have customers that are unique individuals and express themselves, and we express it right back, and it's just well, you don't have to come here, in a very nice way.
Right.
But yeah, we've never really had any major things. But there's stress. It's a different kind of stress when you're a business owner.
What do you mean? It's a different kind of stress. How is it different than being a W-2 employee?
It's one thing if somebody else is putting the stress on you. It's another if you're creating it in yourself.
Come on.
And it's one of those of I can't let this bleed down to my staff. So how am I going to take care of myself, navigate this, allow it the opportunity that it needs to navigate it, but also be a strong leader. But also there's transparency that comes with it. My staff knows when I walk in the door, they can tell you what mood I'm in because they've been around me so much. But they've learned to support me in that. It's one of those of I'm not going to come in and just be but
No, I think we just did it. We just released our last release of our podcast was about loneliness as an executive and as an entrepreneur, because you don't have you can't go into the staff. You have a unique staff. I will say your team is top notch and they're all like family.
Yeah.
And, you have the opportunity to share some of those concerns with your main guy and with some of your other staff. And, we'll talk on the phone fairly frequently, but I think it's important that you're putting in the work on your own mental health to make sure you're the best version of yourself coming in. Absolutely. And I think that's something that entrepreneurs don't think about, I guess is probably the best way to say that. When you're first starting out, you're just like, oh, I know when I first started my business, I had absolutely no recollection or no plan to be like, dude, I can't believe how alone I feel in that everything is on me.
Yeah.
No matter what, every decision, everything, like what kind of paper, like stupid little things that you don't even think about as an employee, that you're now like, oh, I don't want to spend this money on pens or whatever, but I have to advertise. Like, what are we going to do? All of that stuff is super hard.
You recognize as an entrepreneur, you can't be in every space every time.
Yes. Yeah.
So you knew, hey, XYZ can probably help you out. So you're not holding all the pieces. Right. You are collaborating with other people, and that's super cool.
Yeah. So talk about some of the collaborative moments over the last 5 years that have been kind of like springboards to the next thing.
I remember our first wholesale partner in Rock Hill. Like I can't believe they want to carry our coffee on the shelf. They're buying 50 bags and they want to carry it. And then they called us a week later and said, we're completely out. Like we need more.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say with all of our partnerships, there's been a level of growth for them as well. Like with anyone we do wholesale with, like we can quickly learn of when we come on, like within 2 months, your coffee sales are going to be higher.
Wow.
Because we know the product that we trust. We have the data to show that. But it's been, once again, scratch my head of like the opportunities of getting a call and some friends in Indianapolis and a gentleman by the name of Alex Palua. Like we're a small roaster in Rock Hill and he's the #1 IndyCar driver in the world. And he's like, hey, I like coffee. I own coffee shops in Spain. I moved here. I can't find one. Will you roast my coffee? And
yes.
Exactly. So for the past 3 years, we've created, it's for the Indy 500 every year, like a specialty roast just for them. And they sell out every year.
How did he make the connection to you? Do you know?
It was through a mutual coworker.
Okay.
And it was just one of those of like, I know somebody in coffee and then this, and then the phone call happens. And we just picked up a client who is a YouTube channel, and he I forget what game, World of Warcraft. And once again, it was a guy who was like, oh, I have a question about a coffee roaster. And somebody's like, oh, I know a guy. And then I get a phone call from, hey, I have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. We want to sell our coffee. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm very much one. I'm very much one to say yeah, but it's like, it creates problems. It creates good problems. Good problems are still problems that you have to navigate. But and like it's like that. Like our city has taken us on as a point of pride of when they come to. We get to partner with the city of Rock Hill across Parks and Rec, and every championship, every tournament that comes to Rock Hill, USDGC, which is like the Masters of Disc Golf. And I mean, we get people from across the country like that are there, and like they expect us to be there now. They want the camper there, and they know it when they see it. And so much so this past year was the World BMX Championship in Rock Hill, and 40 riders from 45 countries. And like, it was a scratch like moment, if you would, or like what the heck is happening, when the entire team from the Netherlands came over and got espresso shots before one of them went and qualified for the Olympics.
Oh my goodness, that's
and we were
so
just
cool.
like, oh my God.
I served him.
Not that we had anything to do with it,
Right.
It's just like, but yeah, let's go. A moment of one day I was at my house and I was doing office work, and I get a call that said Secret Service is here at the shop. You need to get down here right now. And I'm just like,
excuse me, what?
And
I remember that day.
Yeah, I was just like, what the heck is going on? And
I may be arrested. I don't know what's happening right now.
And it was Doug Imhoff, Kamala's husband, and his entire staff had taken over our shop because they were in Rock Hill, and they sat there and had meetings for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'm like, what are the odds that the first ever in the history of the world, a second gentleman shows up in our shop? The coolest moment was when they went to pay for the bill, and he handed an American Express that said Vice President on it. I was like, let's go.
Nice.
I wanted to scroll down and be like 60%. That's good. Yeah.
Thank you, American people.
Yeah, right. But it's like things like that. We just, the places we get to go and what we get to do because of coffee. And I mean, it's daily. The other day, I visit York County. It's like, hey, we have 8 writers coming in, influencers from across the Southeast. And I mean, we got hit on Instagram of like reels of people, with hundreds of thousands of followers, and we didn't have to pay a dime for it.
Wow.
They were all doing it. There was a luxury brand that wants to do a story on us of like luxury in the South in small towns. And they're like, you fit everything that we want. And she's like, I can't tell you who we write for.
Let's take a time out.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
Never.
No, I know the answer to this question because, again, you and I have been friends a long time.
Yeah.
Did you ever think the words luxury brand and Bryan would go together?
At all.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And everybody's like, where do you roast? I'm like, in my backyard. Like, we don't have this, like, I live in my grandparents' house. Like, I rebuilt it, and where we roast was where my grandfather built lawnmowers. Me and my dad remodeled my house and built we went from like a tiny like shed to like a medium-sized shed to like we built it. And it's like, oh, I have plenty of room for a little while. And like we outgrew that building in 3 months. And I'm like, well, what do I do? And I was like, Scott, I need a shipping container. So then I put a shipping container in my backyard.
Yes.
And then 6 months later,
those were interesting phone calls.
Yeah.
Those calls, and every time Bryan calls, I'm like, okay. And my wife will say to me, what's he doing now? Because you never quite know exactly
what's going to happen.
Yes, we need a shipping container.
Why?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you need that? And we needed a camper. And I'm like, a camper? Where are you? No, we're gonna turn it into something.
Yeah.
And I love the creativity, the everything you've done over there. It looks amazing. Yeah. What we'll do is, as part of our show notes, we'll add some pictures.
Absolutely.
Of the before and after the camper. Sure. I think it'd be very, very cool to be able to show everybody the journey.
Absolutely.
And hook you up.
Bryan, everybody talks about, wow, okay, Bryan's made it. I mean, this is great. What is the first thing that you would tell someone that's a new entrepreneur?
Just like do one thing. Don't try to conquer it. Don't try to pay yourself a full salary. I mean, I didn't get paid for 4 years. Let's be honest. Like, it got tight. My employees were making more than I was, and that's because of what we had to do. I set it up that way. Like, I wanted to be successful, and it's like, if I'm going to build the culture that it is, then like, let's do this. Like, but you had to sit down and vision board and just do one thing. Like, I often meet a lot of people, they like to blame other people for the failing business or because their idea wasn't successful. It's like, well, maybe you just had a bad idea. Maybe you had a bad model. Like, it's, oftentimes people are like, well, the city doesn't help us or this and this and this. It's not their job to help you. Like, that's correct. It's one of those of like, it's very easy to start a business, extremely easy to start a business. You don't know what to do? Sign it for an LLC.
Well, that's one of the other things that I've heard you say throughout this. Well, I didn't know how to do it, so I had a coach. I didn't know how to do it, so I reached out to I didn't know how to do it, so you didn't do it all, but you didn't wake up and have all the ideas.
Not at all. And if you ever stop having ideas, then you might as well sell your business. Like, if you've plateaued, then you need to move on. Like, I remember the grand opening. It was the soft opening. I was coming downtown. And I saw a guy and a girl, I don't know, they were walking and they had iced lattes. And I saw like my logo on the cup and I just began to cry at a red light. Oh. And I pulled into the shop and I looked at my best friend's my general manager. And I said, if we ever lose this, I'm out. Like, if I don't get emotional when I see, like, if I don't feel what I feel right now, then I'm selling it all. You can go find another job. And it's just like, because that's.
And immediately he was like, oh man, how do I make sure this happens? Yeah. I just moved there all the way across from Virginia and I really needed this job. So yes.
And he's got a text on his phone. We talk about it it was in 2019 when all this has happened. And I just texted him. I was like, I got an idea for a coffee shop. Are you in? And he's like, yeah. And then 3 years later he moves, it's one of those, like somebody starting out, like you said, you're not going to do it this week. It's going to take time. Like you have to, I mean, it's the sowing and reaping, right? Like, you're not out like trying to get the tomato plant to grow every day after you plant the seed. You just let it do what it does, and you put the good things around it. So it's the same thing in a business, like your name, your story, your reputation in the community. I was talking to somebody actually yesterday about it. They want to start like a holistic business, and they were like, "What do you suggest?" I want to get a brick and mortar. I was like, "Well, don't get a brick and mortar. go start popping up, like get out in the community. One of the big things for us was, once again, was COVID. But even today, we still run the camper. We had 6 events this week. It's such a marketing tool for us because we're going to schools and there's 95 teachers right there and students and staff, and they're going to see the camper and they're going to know who we are. We're funneling everything back to the shop, to downtown, of like, it's a constant for us. I mean, you go to
how did you find the pop-up places?
It was
he just popped up.
Yeah.
The first location. I mean, how many places did we get kind of kicked out before we kind of parked in a vacant parking lot?
Yeah. I've never been asked to leave. And one time I've asked to go there in 4 years, 5 years. The rest has been invite.
Wow.
Well, talk about PetSmart. This is a crazy
COVID.
Yeah, this is crazy deal.
We got to set up at Lowe's at one point, and like, because we started to think of like, okay, who's gonna buy coffee? It's like, if you don't know your audience, that would be what you need to do as an entrepreneur. Right. It's like, who are you going to sell to? Everybody's not going to buy your stuff just because it's a good idea. But we're like, who would have disposable income to buy coffee, spend $6? Once again, COVID, everybody's doing home projects. The parking lots were packed with people, and everybody's buying stuff for their home. So we set up at Lowe's. That's great. And then I don't even remember how we got into PetSmart. The manager, it was
probably at Home Depot.
It was one of our customers, and they were like, "Oh, I do training dogs at PetSmart. What if I ask the manager?" And they were like, "Sure," because typically they have to go through corporate, and they're like, "We're not going to go through corporate. We're just going to do it." And we set up in PetSmart, and like that became our spot, like our hot spot. And on the first day, the manager came out. It's like, "You created a problem for us today," and it was like, we were short staffed, but we saw an influx in business because you were in the parking lot.
Oh no.
And
I mean, yeah, you.
right, exactly. So we quickly learned, okay, if people are going to go buy an $80 bag of dog food, they have disposable income.
Right.
It's like, but then like as the world opened back up, all those people that were doing home projects weren't at Lowe's anymore. They were hiring people out. So it's like you had your contractors and stuff who are not necessarily apt to buy a vanilla latte. So we're like, let's go to PetSmart. So we'd be there every Saturday. And we would open at 7:00, and we would have a line before we opened. And like, it just remember scratching my head of like, what the heck is going on? And we still go there, like if we can.
Well, no, because I know they call you constantly, like, you need to come back.
Like, come back, and
you're kind of a marketing tool for us as
absolutely.
Well. And I think that's the collaborative part that we talk about all the time. Creating collaborative moments that may or may not seem synergistic at the time.
Right.
But turn into something that is multiplicative for everybody.
Absolutely.
Right. You've got the partnership with PetSmart. You've got a partnership with Innova.
Yeah.
You've got, talk about some of that, and then kind of segue into kind of what's next for Rock Hill Coffee.
Absolutely. So like one of the big partnerships actually starts this weekend of, it's called Roar. It's a faith-based sports league in Rock Hill. And they asked us to come out. And the cool thing about it is like, we used to go out just and set up and sell and all those things. But this year we're sponsoring 4 soccer teams. And this is like, cool. I played soccer growing up. So it's like, I want to invest back into what I did. And there's going to be 4 teams running around with our logo on there. It's like, let's go.
That's awesome.
And it's like, they couldn't wait to get us out there. And like the community, like to be in that position also of like, not only it's a 2-way partnership. It's like, we get to do this now because of the support that you've given us through the years.
That's a great attitude.
Yeah.
So I have heard you say throughout this, I get to do this. I am a part of.
Yeah.
Totally, your core values are showing up in everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're very excited about it.
I love it. I absolutely love what I get to do.
Well, and you get to see the impact of what you get to do.
Yeah.
Not only just selling coffee to the community, which it's very fun for me.
Yeah.
Being somebody that's kind of been involved from the very beginning to now, to just kind of show up and be in and around Rock Hill and seeing the people coming in and out of the shop, all smiling, all excited to be there.
Yeah.
It's a very cool, proud moment to have played a small part in making this thing happen.
Yeah.
But you focus in on, and we talk about this constantly, focus in on the impact first.
Yeah.
Knowing that the dollars are going to come. You said, hey, I want to have a great product. I want to be in the community. I want to be a pillar of this community. I want to give back to the community. I'm going to do that regardless.
Right.
okay, Scott, how do I price this so that we don't go out of business while
Yeah.
I'm doing all the stuff that I really like to
Absolutely.
do? And that's been a fun journey for us, but it's really about the impact. It's really about
Absolutely.
how do I make the community a better place?
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, and I'm coming back to it, is like you said it, like our staff is almost like family.
Mm-hmm.
What we did immediately in our very first staff meeting is like, you will never hear me say that word. I was like, you didn't ask me to be family. I'm not your family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your boss.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, family, it can often be used as manipulation in the workplace to get you to do more than what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, we're not going to do that here. I was like, we're going to set the tone right now. You are an employee and you're going to show up for a wage. And I'm going to do everything I can to take care of you. I can say my employees are probably the highest paid coffee employees, I would say, in the state.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at what it costs to live in our community at a base pay, without tips, without anything. And that's what we pay them, plus tips.
Man, you really are intentional.
Well, the cool thing is what the byproduct of that, circling back to both of our conversations, the byproduct of that is they feel like family.
Exactly. Like you feel that way. Like, I mean, we were at one of them, they just celebrated like the 1-year-old birthday party. Like we hang out outside work. They're like, y'all hang out all the time. We do, like probably 3 or 4 nights a week. It's our staff. And like, we're such a tight knit group and like, we're there, but you come in and like in the shop, that's why they're laughing behind the bar. But like, we remind them often of like, somebody wants your job. Like I have a stack of resumes at home. Like I don't want a college employee. I don't want a high school employee. I want an adult who wants to make a career out of this. And we're going to be here for the long haul. So like we just did a study, like no one's full-time except me and the general manager. We sat down with every staff member and said, what would you want? Would you want benefits? Would you want PTO? Would you want sick days? And all of them said, if we could have PTO and sick days, we don't want benefits. Like we're good on the other end. So we're going to give part-time employees PTO and sick days, which who does that? Like, but it's like at the end of the day,
someone that cares about their employees.
Someone that cares. I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, like I could live a really good life, but it's like, what's the measure of good that like
come on,
what's enough good, gooder, all these things. But it's like, what if we all could live a good life? Like, what if we all don't have to worry about our next paycheck or our bills? Like they have kids, they have spouses, like let's take care of all of them, and it's let's keep that going. So it creates the environment of like, man, I get probably 5 to 10 inquiries a week. Hey, you're hiring. And we're very particular about who we hire. Like we've been extremely blessed. People are like, oh, I can't find work. And I was like, well, you pay them more. Like do something better.
Yes.
Because I think that's a direct reflection on leadership if you can't find employees. But they also they buy your vision, which makes it a lot easier. So like when we first opened the shop, my general manager looked at me. He's like, I don't want you here. He's like, you hired me to run the shop. Let me run the shop. Don't make the staff nervous. Don't be behind the bar. Be the owner. And I was like, it took me a while. And I absolutely love doing it now. Like I'm going to go down and be the owner. But then that provides the collaborative space, back to what we were talking about, of like, I can shake hands and kiss babies. And then you never know who you're going to meet. Yesterday, there was a film company from Charlotte Film. There's like, we're scouting locations for a huge commercial shoot. We're looking for paid locations. I'm like, y'all, yeah. And they're like, absolutely, we'll be here. One day a film crew rolls up and I think God's Not Dead 14 or whatever number they're on, the last one that just came out. I was like, I think we got the gist of it.
Pretty sure he's not dead.
Yeah. But they filmed it in the shop, we got to be in the credits. It's just like,
super cool.
That's amazing. Like it's always something like that. So it leads to more collaborative, more space of that we get to grow. We service a shop in Florida, and we're getting out of South Carolina now, but we want to put Rock Hill on the map of like influence. I got to email. We were sitting there and my dad's a pastor and all these things. And it's like, I've been in ministry, but I feel like I have more influence now than I ever have in the city. And I was sitting there one day, I was like, I don't know the mayor. I don't even know what he looks like. So I got on Rock Hill's website and emailed the mayor and was like, hey, I'm a business owner. Would love to meet with you. And he's like, absolutely. So we sat for 2 hours in the shop and just had a cup of coffee. And at the end of it, he's like, what do you want? What can I do for you? And I was like, John, I want it all. Yeah. Like I want to put Rock Hill on the map. I want our community to be proud of what we're doing. That's
but pause there. it was not about you and Rock Hill Coffee. It was about Rock Hill as a community.
Absolutely.
Your focus was how do you, Mr. Mayor, and me as a business owner make the community better, work together to make the community better.
Absolutely.
This is a big deal because a lot of folks will start a business to chase after the money.
Yeah.
And then you miss out on those moments. Because if you had gone to him and say, hey, I want you to give me this loan and I want you to give me this tax break, and he's going to shut that down completely.
Absolutely.
You went with the idea that, hey, we're going to create collaborative moments where we can do something amazing for this community.
Yeah.
That's how you get buy-in.
Absolutely.
So talk about a little bit, because this is, I know, a project that we've talked about for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, the Uganda project.
Absolutely. So, I mean, part of that came in that conversation, and it also ties into our tagline of community. What is community? Like, we live in a global world. It's not just Rock Hill anymore. It's like we, on our shelves right now, we have product from 13 different countries. Like, we are a global community that someone handpicked, processed, and is in the cup that you're drinking. So between that experience and then my previous experience of travel and photo and stuff, I've seen the source where it comes from. I've seen the farm, the conditions, and everything that they're living in. And it was, why don't we buy land in Uganda? And it happened to be that our friend, one of my friends that lives there, is like, that's the region my wife is from. And he's like, oh, we happen to have 2.5 hectares, which is 5 acres for sale, that we'd love to sell to you. And I'm like, really? Really? This is like, okay. And then got to go there.
I remember this.
And, no, but the crazy thing about that is, when did that conversation happen? It was a while ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Years. And I remember I was talking like, okay, hold on. We're about to get the shop kind of up and running. Yeah. We are not ready to buy a farm in Uganda remotely. But now that conversation has continued to the point where you're talking about doing it.
And it's one of those things as a dream of a business owner of like, you don't have to rush out and do it tomorrow. Like a dream is still a dream, whether it's fulfilled today or next week.
Come on, that's
good.
And
it's one of those of like, it's been in the back of my mind. It's been in my heart since then. Like, this is what we're doing. And we're finally just starting to share about it. And it's like, the land's picked out. Like, I've got to go step foot on the land. I've got to see the kids. I've got to walk around. And it's like, the goal is we're going to purchase the land this year. I got to find $30,000. About $29,000. We have about $1,000 set aside for it. And then we're going to purchase the land. We got to clear the land. And then we're going to plant 20,000 trees next April.
Okay, the cool part about that is it really is global, because you're not taking your team from Rock Hill down there to plant trees.
Not at all. Yeah. We're going to, like, the guy was like, I think we can pay somebody $1 a day to clear it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we can do better than that. You know, it's like, what if we could invest back into them and invest excellence there when we show up and they understand, because then that community gravitates to taking it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we want to run it as, in the coffee world, it's called a washing station, specifically in Africa. It's where they process coffee. So a lot of times you don't have larger estates like you do in South America. It's small micro lot farms or families, and they need someone to sell their coffee to. It's handpicked. They have to process it, etc. So phase 1 is we're going to buy the land. Phase 2 or phase 1 is like buy the land, plant the trees. It takes 3 years to produce.
Mm-hmm.
So in those next 3 years, we're going to buy more land and build a washing station. And then want to treat it like it's a for-profit, but want to hire out workers, essentially like social workers, to be able to go house to house. And then we can take coffee seedlings to all of these families as well, give them to them, create grow projects, and then bring healthcare, education, be able to touch base with the families, be able to pay them directly, and then import to America. Also, I want to open a coffee shop in Mbale, Uganda. Like, why not? Walk out. There's Mount Elgon and a 300-foot waterfall with elephants not far.
So cool.
You know, and it's a huge European backpacking place. And it's like, but what if we can draw this line from Uganda to downtown Rock Hill? And like, this is our community of like, I mean, if you want to get big dream of like, let's throw some shipping container homes and Airbnbs, and you want to see where your coffee comes from, like, let's go. Like, let's take people, let's do this, you know, but to impact directly, because you're talking like generational impact of like the country of Uganda, 55% unemployment rate. The world's coffee supply is going to be cut by roughly 20%, 30% in the next 20 years because farmers are dying. No one wants to take it over. And coffee is colonialism at its finest still. Still one of the number one money laundering things in the planet. You know, it's still the haves taking from the have-nots to produce something that's a commodity or not. It's a pleasurable item on their end. So it's like, what if we can bridge this gap a little bit? What if we can actually do something? A big push that we want to do, and soon our cups are going to say respect. And it's just like, because we want people to understand like the hands that went into making that cup of coffee. Like, we do a good job on our end, but it's like, it was handpicked. It was processed.
Yep.
A bean roughly changes hands over 70 times before it ever makes it to the shores of America. In the country of Congo, they said like 130, 140 people are in the line because you have a farmer that has to, then somebody has to pick it, then somebody has to put it on a moped, then someone has to get to a pro, and all these different things. And it's like, what if we can create that idea of respect, because then that would lead to gratitude for what happened. So when you sit down in the morning to have a cup of coffee, like, you can start your day with gratitude and respect what's in the cup, you know? So, and everything we do is going to be a pairing with that. So,
Bryan,
dude,
you are a fantastic guest.
You are the change maker, right? And I think
appreciate
that's why we wanted to have you on, because I don't think when people walk into the shop and get a cup of spectacular coffee, they're thinking about, I don't think they're thinking about the fact that you know the supply chain from the person who's picking it all the way to the cup that they're drinking it out of.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important opportunity we talk about all the time of creating change makers who actually are being about it instead of just talking about it. You talked earlier about people just kind of whining and complaining about whatever.
Yeah.
We need to be a participant in solving those problems. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. That's what you're trying to do with Rock Hill Coffee. And I can't wait to see what happens next. I mean, every time you and I talk, I'm like, oh man, here we go. Strap in, because Bryan's got some unbelievable idea that's going to literally change the world. And it is crazy exciting for me, for us to have you be a part of this. And I am sure it's not going to be the last time. So, you know, maybe we'll take a Change Makers collective trip to Uganda.
Yeah.
Bryan is definitely living a life
of purpose, on purpose. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You got anything else you want to leave us with?
No, I'm grateful
Any
for you guys.
Great words of wisdom?
I was just thinking back to the other entrepreneurs of like, know your product, make it a part of you. Like, why not? If you're like a change maker, then like create change. Like, quit making excuses.
Yes.
I love it.
Be about it. Don't talk about it. Thanks, man.
Thanks,
I
Bryan.
appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.